could be wiser as an educated advisor. Hello everyone, I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money color commentator. On today's show, financial education is a parent's responsibility. Part 3 of our series on consumer financial awareness with financial advisor and president of the Society for Financial Awareness, Jim Chilton. All here on Let's Get Down to Business. Well, welcome to the third segment, Jim. Wow, if
are we having fun?
Are we having fun? And did you survive segment 2? Okay,
oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm cooling off.
Okay, but now we're going to mom and dad now.
Yeah.
Now, I remember back in the day when I was a young man, my grandparents, my parents went through the Depression. So everything they know about money, talk about cash flow management. Oh, talk about everything in cash, no credit there.
In God we trust.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone else pay cash.
The war, everything that happened, it really changed their psyche and really played. So I have even had input. Boy, I'm more conservative. I'm still conservative because of their upbringing. Parents, all learning begins at home. And I'm thinking, well, you know, that didn't work for sex ed, you know. You know what I'm saying? They kept dumping it out to nobody wants to talk to their own kids about sex, right? So they dumped it to the public arena. We're talking about money now. I remember when my dad would say, "Did you get your first job?" I did. What was it? Delivering papers. Then I was old enough to start helping out at the landscape firm that my dad and my grandparents owned. I got paid only if I worked. I didn't get paid for anything else. I worked, I slaved.
No entitlements.
No entitlements. And by the way, a little side note, and then we'll get into it. I like real milk, and we didn't have real milk in our house. We had powdered milk. I hated it. And the first thing I bought with my first paycheck was real butter, not the oleo, and real milk. To me, I understood what I did there. That's what I wanted. I just wanted milk and real butter. That was my first thing I spent my money on before I started buying music, right? So let's talk about learning begins at home, why this is so important. We talked in the prior segment, starting at 2nd and 3rd grade, maybe earlier at home.
Well, you know, I'd like to go sidebar, and we'll go right into that. You guys and gals that are out there as advisors, and you're watching this show, which is terrific. I've watched it myself. When we get into this part about parents, you guys are not exempt here, okay? I mean, you know, walk the talk, talk it, then walk it, and be part of it. So when I get into this, I'm also talking to you guys, just like I'm talking to you and you're talking to me, okay? It does start in the home. But, you know, one of the things is our country is moving toward a 60% divorce rate. And guess what is the #1 cause of it? Money.
Yeah.
Okay? And where does the divorce begin? Not on the honeymoon. It begins in the home when it's game time, right? Just even man and wife, you know what I mean? Getting along. And then the kids come along. And then all of a sudden, you know, well, it's her job, or, well, it's his job. Listen, this thing about money, it should be starting as the bedrock of building priorities, telling the story, the tradition of Grandpa in the Depression. It should be setting it up, holding the kid's interest. You know, if that kid wants to buy a popsicle, you know what I mean? And, well, today, it's not our prices, but today that popsicle might be $2. Why don't we offer to, I'll match it. You put up your buck and I'll put up my buck. What? Well, yeah, you really want it, so earn it. But, you know, maybe we're going to have an allowance. Maybe if you're of the faith, you tithe. You know, that's another thing. But anything that sets up prioritization of money with a story from an adult with a reward at the end holds their attention. You want to go to the ball game? Well, yeah. Well, I'm off on Friday night, take you down to the ball game. Okay. But if you're going to buy, I'm going to give you, you know, $3 for treats. So if you need more than that, you know, it's a good thing you've had your savings account. You might have to tap into it, which goes into the mentality of, well, I don't want to give up my savings. Well, then why do you think Dad does? So this begins in the home of mom and dad. You know, somebody said one time to me that budgeting is a mathematical confirmation of our suspicions. Well, if mom and dad know where the money is coming in and know where it's going out and can manage it, then they are good role models, right? Are you? Are you? Am I? Are we good role models for our children And then they watch us. Again, Steve, every segment you're going to hear coming out of my mouth, behavior, our behavior. Now, another thing from the angle of the financial advisor, you know, instead of, and we'll talk later on this, but instead of coming right in and pounding somebody and making them feel like an idiot because they don't buy a product, maybe we ought to come in and talk about behavior. Because behavior, instead of ready, fire, aim, maybe it's, oh, maybe the money comes in, let's see where it's going, let's see what's left over. If we're doing that, is our children doing that? And then maybe here's the soft way out, right? Well, the schools will handle it. Rewind the tape, they ain't. It's not happening. We need to begin it in the home. It's the parents' responsibility. If indeed they don't want to be paying their kids all the way till death. It's an investment in our future.
Well, I have to say, my own children came to me and said they thought my greatest education was when I turned ARP age. When I turned 50, all of a sudden I said, hey, look at all the discounts you get, right? And I started managing it like it was a thrill. And all of a sudden, then we got 10% off on Geriatric Wednesday, the first Wednesday, the grocery stores, right? They give 10%. And they said, they watched me learn the coupon system, how to game it, and how to walk out of there with a serious grocery bill for a lot less money. They thought that was better than anything I taught them when I was younger.
Yeah.
Now, they were teenagers now when this all occurred. So I noticed I wanted to become a good steward, not only a good example, same thing now I got grandkids. Hey, I want to be a good example. I mean, I have the money, but should I spend the money? I saw, was it a good deal or a bad deal? He said, what percentage is that? And I do volunteer work in the prison. Think about it. I did my first budget class and nobody could add. Now think about that. How do you do drug deals if you can't confirm that your arithmetic is right?
Oh, you just have the other guy say, oh, but it's a good deal.
It's a good deal, right. So there's no doubt about it. This is a parental issue. Probably one of the most key things, sex ed and money ed. That's got to be right there.
Can I add another thing?
Please.
We are both at the age right now. You said something that we're not going to let escape on this segment. Grandparents. Why would we, if we didn't do a good enough job with our kids, and we know it, and we, again, come clean and confess, we could have done a better job. Why would we carry that to our graves instead of saying we have another opportunity to do a better job with the same, but the next generation? Maybe we did a 50% mediocre job with our son and our daughter, and now we have 3 little grandkids. Why would we keep it within ourselves? Why wouldn't we take the lesson of failure and apply it to our grandkids? You and I, through these segments, have so much fun because we do storytelling. Why wouldn't grandparents want to share stories that the kids don't see and get across to them that there is a reason for good choices? And good choices with our money makes good citizens. And we want to teach them that debt is like letting a python come into your room and can strangle you. Okay, we want to keep them out of debt. Can you imagine a grandchild telling your child, the parent, about, you know, Mom, I'm not so sure that Grandpa would really go along with you using a credit card. He'd say use a debit card, and if it's declined, God's telling you you shouldn't buy it because you don't have the money. I mean, can you imagine hearing that from an 8-year-old? It behooves us. It's an investment to America to do that. And as an advisor, if you go down the path, and we'll talk about this in a later segment, but if you talk about behavior with your prospects, you'll be surprised how quick they can become your clients. And because you're talking a different language than just some guy drilling about a product.
Most of you that have been watching our show, especially on the advisor side, I think your big game here is, especially to expand your practice, is become an educator, but not a seller of product. If you educate, most people do not know what we're talking about. They don't have the basic behaviors. They don't understand the structure. You could really be expanding your practice and building it out if you can become an educator on the most basic and fundamental things. We're talking about basic stuff. We haven't gotten into anything. We're not talking about buying options.
Who would say to you, you know, you need to modify and change your behavior, and they go, what do you mean? I mean, you got to be kidding me. What do I mean? Well, you're a spender first, you don't budget, and you wonder why you have an increasing, staggering debt load. What do I mean? We need to modify the way you do it, your habits and your addictions. Maybe you're not even aware you're addicted to when you get a paycheck, you got to run right out and spend.
I'm ready to do a whole show with Jim on money intervention. I think it'd be great. Listen, don't forget to watch our next segment on building a financial team, part 4 of our series on consumer financial awareness. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always check with your tax consultant, legal counsel, and compliance officer. And don't forget, you can subscribe to my consumer show, Steve Savant's Money, the name of the game. Daily content you can post on your website, social media accounts, database distribution. I'm Steve Savant. Thanks for watching.